my favorite explanation is as like your hub is like, well, is your website, and you kind of think of that as your homeland. Like that's where you have full access to everything. You can change, do anything you want. And then you have like embassies that you work with and use, and those are going to be Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest. And then you have other places where you can kind of look in, but you don't actually interact. But you want to decide what your hub is, because that's where you're always bringing everybody back to. So we'll talk about Facebook and how to, work with Facebook, but ultimately, it's your website you want to bring people to, because that's where you can convert, and you want to capture leads, because then you're building your list. You're actually getting their information so that you can have them on your newsletter list and on, your mailing list and different things like that. So your hub is your own domain, because you can control all the content, and you basically have home advantage there. You can, do, change, create anything you want, and no one can restrict you. It's not like when Facebook updates something, and all of a sudden, what you've been doing suddenly is no longer possible. You have full access on your website. So, with websites, white is the new black. So the most common car color has changed and is now white. And when they have asked people and talked about why they think this is, it's because white is the new color of luxury. And this is because of Apple. Because now we think of, all the Apple products, and it's always white, and that's like the high end, and so white has become the new color that is considered luxury. And I love the idea of, everything being all white, because it makes your photography stand out. And so often we overcompensate with really cute stuff on our websites, which is fun, but you don't see photography first. You see the cute design, and ultimately what we want is for them to see photography first, and then the design enhances and adds an extra effect, and adds elements and doesn't dominate.
So,
yeah.
So would you recommend, if I have a color that comes up with all the images on my site, would you recommend not? I mean, I don't think it detracts, but maybe it does. Would you think that?
Is it the same color, or does it alter?
It's the same solid color, and usually it's some sort of corresponding color with something that's in the image.
I think that's probably okay. My website has that where you can color pick and and it has that strip and everything. And I think that's probably okay. Look for what you gravitate towards. I have realized every time it's a full white website, I'm like, oh, this looks so good.
It's very clean.
It's
right,
so
and crisp.
Yeah, and then you're like,
mine's all white.
And it's all white, and hey, that's a whole lot simpler than trying to come up with everything else. So see what you gravitate towards. But I definitely think when you have one solid strip that's accenting a color, that's okay. But how often do we do our branding colors, but then the actual images that are on it don't match at all, and it's like, well, that's all right, and it's detracting then.
You can play with the font that way too. My website will let you pick the color for the font or the cursor for when you're, it's really subtle.
Yeah.
But it goes with whatever your palette of images and gallery that you're doing kind of does. So that way, instead of having to base a whole background around it, unless it's something like Madison, I think has the gray and do you have gray and white chevron now still? I thought so, but it's muted.
I took the opacity.
It enhances your brand without being overpowering the color. So I think that works really well too. Keeps you warm.
Yeah, and there's definitely still room to have fun. I think the main thing is just making sure that you don't overdo the design elements, and instead understate the design and let your photography be what's overdone. And I think that just comes back to keeping it simple. Err on the side of simplicity. Every time we err on the side of overdone, then later if you look back and you're like, why did I do that? Where it's like how the quote from Chanel, where you take off the last accessory you put on, right? With your website, with your stuff, think of that. I should probably take off that last thing I decided to add. Okay, so the website must list. Every single page should have a visual, which should be pretty darn easy for us, since we have access to a whole lot of those. Visuals are processed 60,000 times faster in the brain than text. So I want you to especially think about that with your pages that have a lot of text. So like our pricing pages, you know, all those ones that are not fun to read, that we need them to read, they need to have pictures on them. And you can do, like, think storyboard strip, right, where you like put in a bunch of different pictures and just have a strip at the top. So that, because we can't have it so huge that like they have to scroll to get to the information, but you could do a small strip that has lots of different images, so there's fun parts of it.
It should be like you giving your clients their things and how happy they are. That you.
Yeah. There's
Yeah,
this
they're so
excitement, they're like
giving
jumping
their
up and
money
down.
and you giving them. It's like
Yeah.
giving their money.
I like that.
Just don't do that.
Don't do it.
Okay, so building trust. 64% of customers have a strong relationship with a single brand because they share the same values. So that's where it comes into, you have to share about yourself. You have to make sure that they're getting a sense of who you are so that that trust is being built and they feel confident then giving you their credit cards. So we have visuals on every single page, and we make sure that we're always, because it's just more fun to look at. Like, think of, we don't want any page to be like, and this is the back page. This is where we're telling you how much you're going to spend. You know, we want to make them fun and like, and this is another good page with pictures. And then we build trust by having, making sure we're giving part of our personal selves and sharing that. And then, of course, that can be done through video. So, showing and using video on landing pages can increase conversion by 80%. And ultimately, that's what we want, right? We want prospects to actually be converted into clients. So we've
So much work to
all seen them. There's such amazing examples of,
Meg Borders.
yeah, Meg Borders or Sue Bryce or
Love Meg Borders.
Jinky Art. I mean, there's so many. Kelly France has a great one.
Isn't it Karengi that just did one? Or your Pixie Life?
Oh,
What'd
that
she
would
do?
be, yeah, that's Yana.
What's she
Yana.
do?
Okay, Yana.
Yeah, Yana has a really cute one.
I
I've
want
seen
one
her.
of those videos so bad.
Oh, right.
love
We're
it.
talking about
Yeah, and okay, so let's say so let's talk about how we could make a quick version before we make the really good version,
Okay.
right? So if you're going to try to make a quicker version, if you have Animoto, and you can add videos to Animoto, and those videos can be up to 10 seconds. So you could do 2 to 3 10-second little interviews of you just talking about why you do what you do. You could have 2 of you shooting like a behind-the-scenes look. So even if you have to, you know, just shoot your own kids so that you're showing that behind the scenes. And then you could also have images of your work and some quotes and stuff. And you could make a full video to start. And then eventually you can do where you actually do like the full, like how Yana had that full scene with that family.
Indeed has one too, I think.
I'm so embarrassed. I mean, I don't feel like. Hi. I don't even know what I would say.
You just
Plan it all-
practice it a whole bunch of times.
Yeah, plan it
Just
all
be
out
yourself.
ahead of time. A lot of times, like with my,
Have one of us interview you.
She's pretty.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and really
She's
nice,
so
because then you
good.
don't need to look right at the camera. You can be, you know, like looking
Like gray?
diagonally, like someone's asking
You
you.
did that. You did that when you did. I remember your thank you cards. Do you remember that video? You did a kind of a progression. Like after you talk with them, you send them this kind of thank you card.
Uh-huh.
You weren't really looking. If I remember right, the whole time at the camera, it's almost like you were looking. It's almost like Taylor was in the room. And
I was looking at Kari. There's Kari in there.
oh, Kari's okay. So you were looking at somebody, so you had a focal point. So it was kind of neat to see it almost as an interview aspect.
Uh-huh.
So there's nothing
And
wrong
it does
with
feel more
that.
comfortable because